Perfect. We're back. Let me check that everything's good. It is. Perfect. We're back. Let me check. Perfect. Alright, everything's good. Let's go ahead and put out the good word. Yay. Sorry about the little bit of break. Yeah, it ultimately comes down to work, so we'll see what we could do this time. We will, maybe we'll do, like, we're gonna update this one here. Boom, boom, boom. Boom and boom. And this is correctly muted. Yep. Okay, we're back. Same old debates. Yeah. I don't think we'll be changing a whole lot up today. I think we'll be, we'll kind of just keep the ball rolling where it was. Mostly looking for, theists, but we're obviously okay with some other people that disagree. All the beliefs are in the Discord, so feel free to join that if you disagree with any of the beliefs. Yeah, I think we'll pretty much pick up where we left off. Again, apologize for the little break. Again, work stuff, but no big deal. Life is good, as always. Life is always good. Any day that you're alive is a good day, so nothing wrong with another day. But yeah, I mean, that's the general idea of this stream, is we're just gonna pick back up. We'll see what ops show up today, if anyone, or if we just get, maybe everyone will agree, who knows. But yep, the general gist of today, the main topics, as always, we're looking at the theist stuff. So if you're a theist or any sort of religious individual, I guess we would take anyone except like Parthionic or pantheonic type religions. In my experience, tend to just be yappers, so we're kind of avoiding them, but everyone else is welcome. And obviously we're looking for the other disagreements as well. All the beliefs are in the description. We'll see if we get any socialists that show up. They tend to be the main ops, other than religious people, as socialists. So we'll see if there's any socialists out there that want to convince me that socialism is amazing. Because it's not, but we'll see. They might change my mind on that too. I actually had this come up the other day. Like, I constantly get asked, like, what my objection is to socialism, and typically the response is going to be the same every time. It's just going to be that, like, the theories or, like, the outcomes that socialism predicts just seem absurd to me. So I'm just going to typically reject the whole ideology. Like, a moneyless society seems silly to me, and so does, like, a classless society. I don't foresee how you're going to get that And I don't even imagine it would be good to have that type of society. Like, money just seems more efficient than not having money. So, just kind of seems like an inevitability. And the only response I've gotten so far has been essentially like, you only say that because the white man brainwashed you, basically. So, hey, how's it going, C1C? But yeah, I think that's the general gist. I think just generally the people that we tend to end up arguing the most with right now tend to be the socialists and the theists. So I'm sure we'll end up talking to more of them today. And we may also do some work on game development as well, just as like a side thing. I don't know if we'll do that or not today. We might. Just kind of depends. But yeah, that's the general objection I got the last time. It seems like the socialists are seem to just want to know why the classless, moneyless society is bad. And I think that they're just like, they innately turn out bad every time, or I don't see how they're going to be any sort of long-staying societies. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if we get more socialists in. Obviously, the main thing we're usually looking for, though, is going to be the theism stuff. Obviously, I'm an atheist. Hey, BXYs, how's it going? BX, yes. Hey, can't stick around for long, but hope your stream goes well and your channel blows up soon. Never give up. Oh, hey, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, if it blows up, it blows up. I don't know if it's even my main goal. Just kind of looking to talk to people is the main thing. If it blows up, awesome. I don't even know. I guess it would be cool one day to just have conversations for a living, but it's not the main goal. I'm happy with what I do for a living now, so I mean, it's just more or less an additional fun thing to do. So it'd be cool if it blew up. It'd be more opportunities and such. So I really appreciate that. Hopefully it does one day, but we'll see. I think the biggest thing we're just looking to do is talk to people. So I think the big thing that we'll do, like the next big project, is going to be like trying to catch a few people that we disagree with and try to get some conversations on their shows. But we'll see if opportunity presents for that. I don't know how the future will hold up in that sense. But yeah, it's not even the main objective. Again, I'm a plumber for a living, and I like plumbing. I like working with my hands. I don't know if I could stand just sitting around all day having conversations, but, you know, it's certainly a good thing to do as well. So that's the main goal, just an extra thing to do. But yeah, I think the main thing we're looking for, I guess, like the channel like statement, is just going to be improved conversations. So like the channel blowing up helps with that, but ultimately you can't improve conversations just through like viralness or viral clips, because if that were the case, then that would have already happened. But most people are just tend to want to get fed like safe space type content and only do or only engage with what they believe. So hopefully we could be the antithesis to that. That would be the goal, because I think certainly we could be contrarian to some people. that we agree with as well, just for the sake of improving conversation. But that's the main goal. So, yep. But yeah, I think the big projects we're looking at. I have been reading into meta ethics. I think that's going to be like the big project for the time being, is meta ethics. Because I think that there's just like a big issue. I think like there is a bit of an issue with like purpose and such right now. So I think having like an atheist meta ethics project is really, really helpful. That's going to be like a big focus, I think. Because I think there's a lot of like anti-realists and nihilists that make up the majority of the atheist movement. So I think bringing like a more realist perspective is going to be good. Because yeah, I've been looking into few different types of moral realism, or just like meta ethics. The big one that I think I'm kind of attracted to at this moment is one I recently found called robust normative realism. It's basically like normative ethics exists because there's like grounding facts or moral facts. And so similar to how there's truth makers and truths, there's good makers and good. Or good makers and goods. So that vein of moral realism seems to be fairly attractive to me. I think that is going to be a big project, is like defending some type of moral realism. Whether it's like, I guess, virtue ethics, or if it's gonna be like robust normative realism, but one of the two. Because yeah, I think that there's like a really, really good argument to be made from supervenience. So like, and like a particular type of supervenience, which is makers. Because it's like the same logic that religious people use to justify most of what God does. So it should be like fairly reasonable to most people, or intuitive to most people. Basically the concept that there are makers, either truth makers or quantity makers or something of that nature. Which I know sounds kind of weird on the surface, but it's kind of just saying like, for something to be true, there has to be a corresponding like truth maker. So it just seems to be like a intuitive thing, and you could apply the same thing to ethics. So like, there's goodness, and then there's goodness makers. So an example might be like agency is a goodness maker, because once a thing in itself possesses agency, it makes goodness. So yeah, it basically answers the question of like, well, why does this do that? It's basically the same logic like a religious person would use. A religious person typically answers the problem of suffering through God just is goodness, or God is the most good thing, so he's like the good maker. So like anything done ultimately coincides with some greater good. So like objecting to something being like bad is just doesn't make sense. Because God innately existing is a goodness maker. So basically like, it's basically applying the same logic. So if God could be a goodness maker, then anything can, basically. So, yeah, I think that's going to be like the next big project is just moral realism, I guess, from an atheist perspective. Because, yeah, I think it's fairly defensible, much more defensible than I originally thought. So, but yeah, I think you have a couple different options, but I think robust normative realism is probably like the best I've seen so far. So, we'll see though. I've also seen some pretty solid arguments for like virtue theory, so I don't know. I think virtue theory in itself, though, can run into some critical issues, but like overlapping virtues, basically, what do you do, or what's the more virtuous thing? But they ultimately answer it with like eudaimonia or whatever, so there is like a single, like, good life that tells you which virtue is more important in each situation, but seems kind of convenient, but it's still like pretty solid though. So I don't know. I think that's going to be like a big project, just moral realism in general, and just continuing to ground like morality from an atheist perspective. I think it's an interesting project to undertake. Because yeah, I think there might be something to robust normative realism, but we'll see. We'll kind of see going forward, because that's a common objection or common argument posed, is that, you know, an atheist can't have objective morality, but it seems like there's a few versions where that might be false. So yeah, I think pursuing those is going to be a really good project and beneficial overall. So, but yeah, I also think it gives you a perspective to critique like capital G God and any action God takes. So I think it's a good project to undertake, but I don't know if it's like gonna be the most defensible or not yet. We'll kind of have to test it. Because yeah, I've certainly had like atheists challenge it. Like that seems to be where the greatest challenge comes from, is like anti-moral realists. So I don't know if theists have a challenge for it, but maybe. Because yeah, it seems like there's like a theory. No, what is it? It's like argument from, let's see. I think it's like Mackey, like, argued it. Yeah, J.L. Mackey argued, like, I guess it's like an argument from queerness, like, that there's just like an innate difference with ethics that makes it just like ungroundable. And so they basically put forward a like concern that like it's basically like moral error theory, that like every ethical claim is false. So like if you say something is good, like you could say like living is good is false just as equally as like I don't know. Hey, what's up, Pishala? Don't give up. I hear Japanese meme. What happened? Don't give up. Don't give up on what? But yeah, I think Mackey's argument is a little bit of a challenge to moral realism, but I don't know, I think it might have answers to it. What happened? Don't give up. I don't know. I don't know what I gave up on. I don't think I gave up on anything recently. I don't think. I don't know. I don't think. I don't know. What have I given up on? Me too. Oh, okay. Me too what? I don't think I've, but yeah. Anyway, I think, yeah, I think that's going to be like the big project for the time being, is basically going to be like moral realism, just grounding it. Boo him. Okay. But yeah, I think that's gonna be the big project. Is just moral realism and like defending it for the time being. So I think that there's some value to it. I am not a racist. Oh, okay. I'm glad to hear that you're not a racist. That's good. I guess, yeah, I'm not a racist either. I think racism's a little bit of an odd thing to participate in, so no, I'm not a racist either. I'm glad to hear that you're not. Good. Do you know Sri Lanka? The small island country? I've heard of Sri Lanka, obviously. I don't know much about its history or anything, but yeah, I know about Sri Lanka. I've never visited, but I don't know. I know it's like an island in like Asia somewhere. Yeah, I've heard of Sri Lanka. Not like a big... I don't have a lot of knowledge on it. Let's see, I don't think anything too crazy has gone down in Sri Lanka. It's been ruled by the British Empire. Huh. Yeah, but yeah, I know what Sri Lanka is. I don't know much about its history or anything. Just know it's over there in Asia somewhere. I think like off India. Hey, I'm Gerald. How's it going? Hello, nice topic. Jesus still loves you. Nice topic. Yep. It's the main one we normally deal with. Jesus still loves you. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about Sri Lanka. I have no clue. I just know it exists. And I know that there were some like ancient tribes there that arguably were like, what were they? They like Tamar kings or something. And they were like fucking downright unconquerable. So I know for sure. Well, I'd love to hear how you know Jesus exists today, is still alive. I'd love to know that. That's what we're out here trying to figure out. So, I grew up Christian. If I missed something, I would love to hear how Jesus exists. Because yeah, I would actually take like a very, very like minority opinion, and like at this point, like the odds of Jesus's existence historically were quite low. At least in terms of like an actual reference being present. So I would love to hear arguments in favor of Jesus's existence. Because yeah, obviously I'm an atheist. Yeah, I reject the concept of capital G God. I don't think that ultimate foundation exists, at least not for all aspects of nature, which an ultimate foundation would need to be the foundation of all of nature. I don't think such a thing exists. And I also don't believe in like a personal aspect of the ultimate foundation either. So I would reject religiosity, so like Christianity, Islam, probably like Hinduism, any sort of mythicism like that as well. So I'd love to hear arguments for either one of those. Yeah, because I don't think either one exists. So there's not a capital G God, and are people forced out of president. Sri Lanka president forced to resign. Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa was forced to resign on July 14, 2022, following months of massive public protest. Following the country's worst economic crisis since independence, protesters and demonstrators stormed his official residence. He escaped in 2022. So he relinquished office mid-term, the first time in Sri Lankan history. Well, look at you guys. You guys are now a rebel country. Look at that. Didn't know that. But yeah, I think we swim the pool in President Behedchin. What was this president? President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Born 20th of June, Sri Lankan former politician and retired military officer, served as the 8th president of Sri Lanka. Before his presidency, he served as Ministry of Defense and Urban Development. Born to a political family, Rajapaksa was educated at Ananda College. Mishandled the COVID-19 pandemic response and drove Sri Lanka into an economic crisis, leading the country to default on its debts in 2022. Oh, he responded with authoritarian crackdowns, state of emergency, curfews, military-led arrests, and suppression of dissent. So this dude's pretty fucked up. Okay, in bad English, I'm sorry, but it takes too long otherwise. We have so many independent scriptures of Jesus and in his life, not just the Bible. What do you mean by so many? What are they? And are they contemporary? Meaning, did they exist at the same time as Jesus, or very, very close? Gotabaya Rajapaksa was forced to resign as president of Sri Lanka in July 2022 after months of historic public protest demonstrations. Yeah, seems like he's a fucked up dude. He cracked down on it instead of respecting people's protest rights, which seems like he got what he deserved. But yeah, what's the independent scriptures of Jesus in his life? And are they contemporary? Because from my understanding, you have Josephus and Tacitus are the two historians that wrote somewhat around that time. So we have two. Is there any more? And are they contemporary? And if so, how contemporary? Yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of curious. And Plinius? Yeah. Plinius, or isn't it? Who's Plinius? Isn't that a Roman governor, like Pliny? Isn't it some other name? Is that just the original name? Oh yeah, Pliny the Younger. Okay. But I don't think Pliny the Younger is usually cited, because he was just saying that they would. He was just citing that Christians sing hymns. Sultan Marabar or something. Sultan Mardabar? Serapion? Serapion? Seropion? I've never even heard of these ones. That might be Suetonius, maybe? Because I think Suetonius logged that there was suppression of Jewish revolts. If that's where we get the confirmed persecution of like early Jews and Christians. Marabar Serapion is one name. Marabar Serpion. Stoic philosopher. For a letter he wrote to his son. Oh, he wrote the letter to his son Seropion. I see. Uh, the letter has been claimed. Yeah, I don't know. I think what the hell was even the original letter? But yeah, I'm assuming you're referring to this, the letter to Seropion, I'm assuming. Yeah, I mean, the Bible alone is enough, at least for me. Yeah, I guess I'm just curious as to why. Scorpion. It might be Scorpion. Serpion. Serapion. Scorpion? I don't know if it's Scorpion. Seropion. Pronunciation. Let's see what it is. I'm pretty sure it's Seropion. Serapion. Serapion. It's the letter to Serapion. That's how you pronounce it. Serapion. Yeah, no, the letter to Serapion isn't contemporary enough for me to be sufficient, but I think the most contemporary is going to be Josephus and Tacitus. I think the rest aren't contemporary enough. But 63,000 internal links and cross-references, for example. What does that mean? References to what and links from what? Every religion good? Celestial Scipion. Yeah, I don't know what that means with the internal links and cross-references. 1,000. What is this? Oh, are you talking about the verses? I'm assuming you're talking about the verses. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't really do anything for me. I mean, that could be indicative of bias or planning or storytelling. So they connect the many individual stories. Yes. Yeah, that to me says more that it's likely planned or that there's some sort of like connection more than it does like things in the Bible actually happened. Some things of the Bible obviously happened, but we know that they happened for other reasons. And there's also some things of the Bible, you ultimately just have to look at it and is there reason to lie about the things in the Bible or not? And if things are linked, then you need to decide why they were linked. Like, just saying they're linked isn't sufficient. Like, obviously the Torah, or the original 5 books, are going to all be linked. And they're clearly linked. because they're clearly a story of like origin for the Jewish people. But the time between the Old and New Testament is so long, I don't think I could be storytelling. It could be storytelling. And absolutely, it could be, well, I think the Torah is definitionally storytelling. I think that it was just oral tradition passed down from family to family. Because we have reason to suspect that the, like, earliest writings would have been, like, maybe 1500 BC, but those stories were likely told for like 1,000 years before that. So like the Torah is going to be linked through storytelling when it was written down, so it being connected is not surprising to me. Like if you're going to sit down and write a tale you heard from your childhood by memory, I would expect like a cohesive story. So like I think the Torah is like obviously going to be linked. The Deuteronomic history is obviously going to be linked to the history or stories that the Jews passed on from living their history after Deuteronomy. So those are obviously all going to be linked, and if the Jews believed in that origin story, they're obviously going to write in the Deuteronomic history. They're going to connect it because it's just part of their life and childhood and their upbringing. So like the first 8 to 15-ish texts of the Bible is like completely understandable to me to be linked. You obviously have the book of Proverbs. A lot of people don't even know who the hell the book of Proverbs was written by. I don't think there's a consensus on that. It's just probably some like Jewish person wrote it at some point, probably some type of higher up in the church. It's hard to say. But if a Jewish person wrote it, of course it's going to be linked to Deuteronomic history and the Torah. So the book of Proverbs makes sense to be connected. And then the prophets were just higher ranking Jewish people speaking to the Jews, the Israelites, and the kingdom of Judah. Yeah, they were just basically telling them why the wars that are happening to them are happening and how they can fix it. So, I mean, the prophets make sense why they're connected because they're all written by Jews. So yeah, I mean, the whole Old Testament, it would make sense to me, should be connected if it was all written by Jews. Like, that doesn't tell me anything about the book. That just tells me that Jews wrote it. That doesn't tell me anything about the truth value of it. It's sort of like if I sat down and wrote the story of Little Red Riding Hood right now. If I wrote like several books about it, and then like if I wrote one book telling the story, or maybe 2 acts telling the story, and then if I wrote like a couple years later I wrote like a book of lessons to be learned, like the book of Proverbs, like yeah, of course they're going to be connected. It doesn't tell me if the things in it are true or not. You have to verify the truth claims. Like obviously young earth creationism's silly, so obviously that part's not true in the Torah. And obviously we wouldn't say that like the endorsements of slavery were good in Exodus, Leviticus, or Deuteronomy, like, or the book of Numbers. Like obviously we're not going to say that that's good, so clearly that's not like a moral fact present in it. Like, yeah, you just have to judge the things in it. Like the only thing you could really say about the Old Testament is that it was written by Jews and it's likely oral tradition, and like the true original meaning is probably completely gone, but you could probably still take away like the general gist of what they were talking about. Like it's probably acceptable to think that like, oh, the Jews believed we were created, and that's like an acceptable thing to take away from the Torah. and they also believed in Yahweh or a God or an ultimate foundation. And this ultimate foundation was personal. I mean, that's all we could really say about the Torah or the Torah. So, yeah, I mean, it just makes sense to me that if the Bible was written by people, which it was, it's going to be linked. So that doesn't tell me anything. We have to look at the claims in it if they're actually like historically accurate or not. And same thing, I could look at the New Testament as well. Like, I think Matthew, whoever wrote Matthew, was probably clearly Jewish or like an early Jew or Christian. So, like, they were likely familiar and they grew up in like Israel and Judah or somewhere around there, maybe Syria. And so they were probably familiar with Judaism. So it would make sense to me that they mention some of the prophets if they grew up in that tradition. So, yeah, I mean, the book of Matthew makes sense why it would be connected. If it was written by a Jew or early Christian, they would be familiar with Scripture. The book of Mark is the earliest, and, you know, so unless we could prove that the person writing the book of Mark had no idea about the Jewish or Christian tradition, which we don't even really know for a fact who wrote it. It's just kind of assumed through church tradition. But yeah, you would have to demonstrate that the person that wrote the book of Mark, who is going to be like your earliest writing of the Gospels, you'd have to prove that he or she knew nothing about the Jewish tradition and then somehow connected it with the Old Testament somehow, or knew about the old law somehow without knowing about the old law. So at that point you could say, well, that's clearly something going on, right? So yeah, I mean, you would just have to demonstrate that. Because that would be super convincing if you could demonstrate like a source or like one of the biblical texts was written by someone with like no experience in the church at all. Like it was found in some like random place somewhere. That would be super convincing. Oh, give me a few seconds here. All right, I'm back. But how is it possible that the Old Testament, for example, foretells the birthplace of the Messiah and that a son will be born of a virgin? He will live without sin and suffer and die for our sins. I don't know where this is told at. Can you cite the scripture for this? Because I've actually been studying a few of the prophets recently. I'm always curious where we get like Jesus is exactly foretold by the prophets. The prophets were not talking about the future. The book of Jeshua. Alright, let me look here. Oh. Because, yeah, it's important to keep in mind when reading those that the context is they're talking to Jewish people. Like, I don't know. Jesaja. You mean Joshua? Or do you mean Isaiah? I'm assuming you mean Isaiah? I just studied Isaiah. Maybe you mean Jeremiah? Because I'm assuming you're talking about one of the... one of the prophets. I don't know what it is in English. I have the German name in my head. I'm assuming it might be Isaiah. Because I'm assuming you're talking about one of the major prophets. So you're going to have like Isaiah, Ezekiel. Hey, what's up, Wyatt the kid? How's it going? Because I think it's going to be like Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and Isaiah? Where does it say that in Isaiah? Are you talking about the part when he's referring to Israel? Like God's gonna like rescue his unadulterated Israel? Or I would need to see the citation. Let's see, so Israel, Isaiah. So you're going to have Daniel. Isaiah is well before Daniel. Book of the prophet Jeremiah, Isaiah. I'm assuming you're referring to Isaiah 26. (35:5-8), for example. So Isaiah 35. (35:5-8). The wilderness and the solitary place shall be glad for them, and the desert shall rejoice. (35:5-8). Well, I'll just read the whole context. The wilderness and the solitary place shall be glad for them, and the desert shall rejoice and blossom as the rose. It shall blossom abundantly and rejoice even with joy. And Sigi, the glory of Lebanon, shall be given unto it, the excellence be given unto it, the excellency of Carmel and Sharon. They shall see the glory of the Lord and the excellency of our God. Strengthen ye the weak hands and confirm the feeble knees. Say to them that are of a fearful heart, be strong, fear not. Behold, your God will come with vengeance. Even God, he will come and save you. Then the eyes of the blind shall be opened, and the ears of the deaf shall be unstopped. Then shall the lame man leap as an hart, and the tongue of the dumb sing, For in the wilderness shall waters break out in streams in the desert, and the parched ground shall become a pool, and the thirsty land springs of water. In the habitation of dragons, where each lay shall be grass and reeds and rushes, and a highway shall be there in a way, and shall be called the way of holiness. The unclean shall not pass over it, but it shall be for those, the wayfaring men. Thou fools shall not err therein. 53. Okay, I'll read that one. 53. So there's going to be 5 each. Who hath believed our report, and to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of a dry ground. He hath no form nor comeliness, and when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. He is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows, and acquitted with grief, and we hid as it were our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he hath borne our griefs, carried out our sorrows, yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned away one to his own way, and the Lord hath laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before her shears is dumb, so he opened not his mouth. He was taken from prison and from judgment, and who shall declare his generation? For he was cut off out of the land of the living. For the transgressions of my people was he stricken. And he made his grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death, because he had done no violence, neither was any deficit in his mouth. Yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He hath put him to grief. When thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed, he shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. He shall see the travel of his soul, and shall be satisfied. But his knowledge shall my righteous servant justify by many, for he shall bear their iniquities. Therefore will I divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he hath poured out his soul unto death, and he was numbered with the transgressors, and he bare the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressors. They stoop, they bow. Is there anything else here? Hear ye this, O house of Jacob. Come forth out of the waters of Judah. Make mention. Yeah, and what is this passage supposed to mean? Because my understanding of all the prophets' books, including Isaiah here, he's talking about Israel. Matthew 7:8. For everyone that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. Or what man is there of you whom, if his son ask bread, will he give him a stone? Or if he ask a fish, will he give him a serpent? If ye then, being evil, know how to give good gifts unto your children, how much more shall your Father which is in heaven give good things to them that ask him? Therefore all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, Do ye even so to them, for this is the law and the prophets. Enter ye in at the strait gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there which go in therewith. Because strait is the gate, and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. Beware of false prophets. Doesn't confirm him, but it's beautiful. I'm sorry. Oh. Yeah, I mean, that one's a decent verse. Just basically like, do good things, or how could you expect God to do good things for you? It's a fairly decent set of life advice. But yeah, I think Psalm 23 also beautiful. Oh my God, Psalm 694, where the kings, the Psalms, Chronicles, Book of Proverbs. Okay, we're past that. Psalms 23. I haven't really studied the book of Psalms, so we'll read this. Oh, come on, you. There we go. Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou appointest me, false witnesses are risen up against me, and such as breathe out cruelty. I had fainted unless I had believed to see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and he shall strengthen thine heart. Wait, I say, unto the Lord. Yep, that's a funeral classic. I recognize that one. It's been a while. But yeah, I haven't really studied the book of Psalms. The ones I'm doing now, I'm doing the prophets primarily right now. But yeah, I think the prophets are usually misinterpreted. The prophets were talking pretty clearly to the Jews at that time. Like, I think the biggest miscited thing, I think, is like Isaiah 29. Or it might be 23, but basically, the prophets seem to be clearly talking to the Jews at the time. like the history of the prophets were just like high-ranking members of the Jewish like hierarchy, and like there were major prophets like Isaiah who you were supposed to take more seriously, and then there were like minor prophets, people like Amos and Hosea. But yeah, I think the major prophets and the prophets in general are supposed to be talking to Jews, and they're supposed to be like giving you advice on what the Lord would want you to do. And they were likely talking to the people of Israel. Like, most of them open up their books. I don't think I could change your mind, man, but I would love to see you in heaven. You're a really nice guy. And if I'm honest, I had the same thoughts as you not so long ago. Yep, and I had the same thoughts as you not so long ago. I used to be a diehard Christian, but... so... I don't have ill will towards Christians, right? My entire family is not a big deal. I just think that there's a fact of the matter and it's not true, so yeah. But yeah, I think I don't know, people cite the prophets, but the prophets aren't really talking about much in the future. They're usually talking about their time that they were in. And you could even look at like the context of the books. Like the context of the books are all using language like here, now, was, like things they knew. It's not saying like in the future. And if they do say in the future, they're usually talking about like, oh, if you repent. Like most of them will open up with like, oh Israel, why have you forsaken me? The Lord's Father commands, or the Lord Father saith unto thee. Like, they're basically saying, Israel, you guys are making a bunch of mistakes. You're violating God's laws. We're going to war, or there's a bunch of issues happening now. Like, you guys are starving yourselves. Like, all these bad things are happening because you keep disobeying God. And what they're saying is if you stop disobeying God, and after you receive your punishment for the disobeying that you've done, God will reward you. So, like, God was supposed to send, like, a Messiah, and God was supposed to do all these things as a reward to the Jews, as basically like, okay, you've received your punishment, I'm going to start again with you. So they were clearly talking for that time. Like, everyone tries to go back to the prophets and prophesize things for now. They were not talking about any sort of like distant future. That's how come every time Christians online are like, oh, the end times are near, they're always wrong. Like, we're still alive for another several years every time. So it's because the prophets aren't talking about the future. They just simply aren't. I mean, you just have to read them in their whole context. The context of the prophets is clearly they're talking to the Jews of the time, which is also a good thing if you're a Christian, because the prophetic view of suffering and sacrifice is very indefensible. So you really don't want the prophets to actually be talking about the future, because if that is, that's a reason to like stop being a Christian if they're actually talking about the future. But it doesn't seem that they are. And there's like no like Jewish tradition or no historical evidence that they would have been. It's likely in the church, or like the Jewish churches or Jewish synagogues, there likely would have been like high-ranking members that you were just supposed to listen to, and the high enough members would have been labeled as prophets. So, no, I would just say if you read the Bible in its context, the prophets are really just talking about like then and their time, and like they're basically saying like the bad things that happened to Judah and Israel, that was because they disobeyed God. and God's gonna punish you. Like, I think Amos is super explicit. Like, the women's stomachs are gonna get ripped open and bashed. Their newborns are gonna be bashed against rocks by the Egyptians and by the Mesopotamians. You know, Israel was going to get bashed against rocks by Mesopotamians from the north, and Judah was going to get their women were going to get their stomachs ripped open and their newborns or fetuses bashed against rocks by the Egyptians of the south, and God was doing this to them as punishment. So no, you really don't want the prophets to be talking about the future, because it's pretty indefensible. Like, the prophetic view of suffering is one of the most indefensible parts of the Bible, other than like some of the laws given in like Exodus and stuff. But you could ultimately hand wave those as being like forgotten history or like misinterpreted just through oral tradition. But it's really hard to hand wave the prophetic view of suffering. Like, the prophets were very clear in what they believed. They basically believed everything that ever happened to anyone is because God does it, which is not good for modern Christians, because their common response to the problem of suffering is that like free will causes it. But the prophetic view is pretty clear. Like, every earthquake, every natural phenomenon is like God punishing you. And like, even innocent people get killed as a result. And like, that's what you deserve. It's pretty fucked up, pretty indefensible. So you would have to read the prophets in their context. If you read them in terms of like trying to like apply them to modern day, or like even trying to be like apply them to like modern Christianity, it's fairly indefensible. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's the thing. Like, I've been studying the prophets. I've been reading some theologians and what they view the prophets to be saying. I've read like agnostic. Like, obviously there's Bart Ehrman, who's like the most famous agnostic one. Oh shoot, I'll be right back. All right, we're back. We're back. Okay. But yeah, I don't know. I think that the prophets were fairly clear. I don't know. It's one of the sets of the Bible I've been reading fairly heavily recently and studying. Don't quite have anything like memorized yet, but like getting there. I think that yeah, I don't know. People always miscite the prophets. That's how come Christians always end up looking silly online, because they're always like, the end times are near. And then they like cite like Isaiah or Elijah or something, or Ezekiel. And, you know, they just end up looking silly because the prophets weren't actually prophesying today. That's not what the prophets were doing. That's like a misinterpretation of the Christian church. It's something like pastors teach that's just false. So that's one reason, like, to not be like Protestant if you were going to be Christian, is because stuff like that. Like, if you try to be by the book instead of by the context, it gets wacky, because it's just not, the Bible's not applicable to today at all. The prophets were not prophesying today. They just simply weren't. But yeah, I don't know. That's just my understanding of the prophets. That's why Christians always look silly when they're like the end times are near or whatever. They're just not actually looking into the future. It's just kind of a silly thing to say. And if that's what they were intending to do, you'd think they would leave something more obvious if that's what they were actually claiming to do. But it seems like the only thing they were claiming is like, we know what God is like, and this is what happens when you disobey him, and this is what happens if you follow his law. That seems to be the only thing the prophets were claiming to know. I don't think they were actually like getting visions from God. They just were high-ranking members of the early Jewish church. And yeah, were generally like the major prophets would have been more respected, and the minor prophets, people like Hosea and Amos, would have been a little bit less respected, but still like high enough ranking that like you should listen to what they say. If you're a lower ranking person, if you're a lower ranking in the church, or if you're just like the average person living in Israel or Judah. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's something you need to be careful with, is there's the prophets were talking about their times then. They weren't really trying to prophesize the far future. Honestly, they weren't really prophesizing much in terms of they were just saying like, this will happen if you obey God's commands, because they obviously were well studied, high ranking members of the church. They knew God rewarded obedience and punished disobedience. So, and disobedience demands a sacrifice. So yeah, they were basically telling everyone, yep, you guys getting raped by the Egyptians and the Mesopotamians, yep, that's all your fault for disobeying our laws. If you stop doing that, all this, God's going to do all this cool stuff for you. So stop doing it. So, yep, it's a pretty fucked up view of suffering. Yeah, I think the classical view of suffering demonstrated by the prophets is indefensible. Now, the apocalyptic view and the modern view is a little bit more defensible, but man, if you accept the original view as a Christian, I mean, it's just like indefensible. It's literally just like, even innocent people, like, their suffering is just a sacrifice for the sinners. So, like, you deserve the punishment. So, like, even like an unborn child who's completely innocent deserves to be bashed against a rock, because I guess their fathers or their great-grandfathers did something to make God angry, so they deserve to be ripped out of their mother's stomach and bashed against a rock. It's pretty indefensible. So, I don't know. I'm just not going to be convinced by like citing the prophets for stuff. I think as a Christian, like, your best view of the Old Testament is that it's just like a general idea of what God is like. And then you're supposed to use like Jesus's like revelation to properly understand it. So, I don't know. I just don't think it's a defensible thing to even cite the prophets for much at all, but yeah. I mean, ultimately, I don't know. The prophets and the prophetic view of suffering is just like a very indefensible view. The apocalyptic view is a little bit more defensible, but that's pure New Testament. If you start citing the prophets are going to disagree. Actually, if you probably cited it around their time, they would probably like pick you up and like slice your throat and then like leave your body in the public to be like shamed for disobeying God. So, no. I mean, citing the prophets for stuff is not the way. It's just not. The prophetic view of suffering, very, very bad. Because, yeah, if you read the Bible, there's two biblical views of suffering. There's the prophetic view, and then there's the apocalyptic view. The prophetic view, in my opinion, or also known as the classic view, is just indefensible. It's basically like if any of your parents, grandparents, anyone in your city sins, and you've done nothing wrong, like you deserve like God's earthquake that he causes because of that person. Like you basically deserve to be punished because other humans do bad things. Like you're a sacrifice, and sacrifices are demanded by God. And since God is all good, like sacrifices are good. So therefore, you deserve to be sacrificed. It's just like a abhorrent view. It's basically like North Korea's logic of your great grandfather commits a crime, so you deserve to be like imprisoned for life and tortured as a result of your great grandfather's crime. It's just indefensible. Now, modern Christians and like the New Testament view is the apocalyptic view. It's basically like God created, or like God came down to earth in the form of Jesus to like help save people, basically. And like one day he's gonna come back and battle Satan. And in that battle, everything will be like, all the wrongs will be written. So it's like, yeah, you're suffering now, but like one day it'll be worth it. Still seems fairly fucked up, but like, it's certainly a little bit more defensible. But yeah, I don't know. Holding to the prophetic view or citing anything the prophets do, like they were clearly like Old Testament oriented, like disobey God, you become a sacrifice, basically, and like sacrifices are cool. So I don't know. That's I think it's just like a little bit indefensible, but yeah, I can rant on and on about it. I've been looking into the biblical views of suffering. It's like one of the biggest things I've been researching recently, and yeah, I think the prophets are pretty clear. Everything that ever happens, every earthquake, everything is literally God's fault. And it's not like fault in like a negative sense. It's just God causes them. And why does he do it? Because we deserve it. We have to be sacrificed. Sin demands a sacrifice. Even if it's an innocent person, they deserve to be sacrificed. So, yep. I think that I think it's fairly indefensible, but it's like eye to an eye to eye for an eye to an extreme. Like it's not just like, oh, you did something wrong, so you pay for it. It's like beyond that. It's like you did something wrong, so like your great grandchildren are responsible for it. It's pretty bad. I mean, it's just like, I don't know. We see it happen in North Korea, and we all think it's like bad, but like apparently God could do it and it's fine. But I don't know. It seems wacky. So yeah, I don't really hear people defend the classical view anymore because of that. It just seems fairly indefensible. But or it is defensible. You just pay like a very, very high intellectual price. It's just, is what it is. And even the apocalyptic view, I think you have to pay a high price of we're not agents in order to accept it. But hey, what's up, Nitro Gold? How's it going? Welcome back. Good to see you. But yeah, I don't know. I think the prophetic view of suffering is indefensible. I think bringing it up is, I don't know, citing the prophets for anything is bad. Which country is even using socialism? I don't know. Not even socialists could agree on what's socialist anymore. I don't. Maybe China is using a form of it, but even then, that's like a giant maybe. That's one hell of a narrow door. Yeah, I mean, this is an old house, so yeah, I use the older measurements of doors, not newer ones. I think that's probably like a 30-inch, maybe, instead of a modern, like, 36-inch or something. So yeah, it probably does look narrow. Old house. Well, not even extremely old, just fairly old. Can't fit a couch in there. Hey, I got a whole ass bed in here. It'll fit. It's all about angles. It's all about angles. It's a nightmare to shove anything in. Yeah. No, this couch is, or any sort of like furniture in here is probably just staying or like getting ripped up. Would you consider Sweden as socialist? No, they would probably still be like social liberal. They're still in like the liberal spectrum. I don't think Sweden's socialist. Like to me, socialism, like if you look at like what the what like Karl Marx was talking about, or like any of the like post-structuralists and post-Marxist after him talked about. Typically, socialism is going to be like the workers own the means of production. So, like, according to like modern socialists, like socialism, like there can't be owners, there can't be like capitalists. If there's any capitalist present, it's not a socialist society. Sweden has private markets. It's not a socialist economy. Well, it's not even like the markets, because most modern socialists would say you could have markets. It's just like you can't have capitalists or people that own the means of production. What do you think about the job guarantee that AOC is floating around? I haven't even looked at it, but usually job guarantees aren't the best, but job guarantee program proposal AOC. Oh, I'm usually not a big fan of like government like guaranteeing you a job, because like what the hell does that even mean? Like you're basically already guaranteed a job. It's just like you probably don't want to work the jobs that are available to you, so you're not working them, right? If you want socialist regimes or close to it, you could name Cuba, Venezuela, China, though they're not pure in all of their aspects, since in modern economies nothing is pure. Not even the U.S. is not purely a capitalist economy. All modern economies are mixed markets. They both have private and publicly owned sectors. Yeah, they're all liberal. They're all social liberal markets. So they're all still capitalist and liberal in nature. They're just not. They're just not unregulated. They're not laissez-faire. But they're all, yeah. Basically everything today, I think most socialists would say. Most socialists today would say that like there is no socialist economy, but I have to go now. Sorry, I'll be more prepared next time. But the last thing I want to say is I think you have to open your heart for God. Only then can you find and accept Him. God bless you. Yep, have a good one. People like to conflate political ideology with economic theories. Yeah, but it definitely seems like most of the modern socialists are illiberal. They don't. It definitely seems different. Like socialism doesn't seem compatible with liberalism, Like, certainly every socialist I've ever known, and when I was a socialist, like, I despised, like, liberals. Um, so, like, and all your major, like, socialists are, like, despising liberals. So, like, they all seem illiberal. I don't know if the ideologies are compatible. That's what, like, post-Marxists say, is that, like, liberalism is compatible with um, socialism. But, well, it's a long discussion, but a lot of Western and socialists are LARPers. But that's a whole nother discussion. Yeah, I know a lot of, like, neo-Marxists, post-Marxists, like, they all say that, like, Marxism is compatible with liberalism. I don't know how true that is, because I don't know how you have, like, a government that guarantees rights existing with, like, like, existing with socialism. Well, democratic socialists disagree. I think democratic socialists are just liberals, usually, that are just calling themselves democratic socialists. They don't seem to believe in anything non-liberal. They just seem to be liberals. And, like, they don't even seem to be, like, believing anything Marx believed in, or, like, any of the people believed in. I would just call them liberals. I don't even know if they're socialists. A lot of the leftists, far leftists, are illiberal because they're anti-Western. Yeah, that's true, but... Well, that's the thing, though. If you, like, read... Like, if dialectical materialism is the case, which is one of the foundations of socialism, then... if you have any aspect of capitalism allowed at all, it's going to, like, corrupt everyone. So you have to, like, rid it out. Like, it doesn't seem that, like, you can have, like, rights or, like, people be what they want to be and have socialism. It doesn't seem compatible. It seems like everyone that's like, well, you could have democratic socialism. It seems like they're more social democrats, not democratic socialists. Like, they're liberals still. Like, I think socialist means, like, you believe in dialectical materialism, some type of structuralism, some type of classless society, some type of moneyless society. Like, I don't know. I feel like any other variant is, like, I don't know. Like, I don't see how those things are compatible with liberalism. Maybe, but I don't know. Maybe a job guarantee provides a layer of protection against jobs that suck. So those bad jobs need to pay higher. Maybe. Not sure what AOC means, but job guarantee, but it's not a revolutionary concept to register yourself unemployed and the government is looking for a job for you, subsidizes to encourage employers to hire. That's like a normal thing. Yeah, we already have that in most states in the United States, I believe. We already have, like in my home state, Ohio, we have a program, Ohio Means Jobs. Like, you could put in that you're actively seeking something and they'll find you like a decent apprenticeship or something, or help you. So, like, those types of programs are fine. Like, I guess that's the thing. I don't even really know what, like, job guarantee means. Like, is it like forced labor? Like, because you're already essentially guaranteed a job. It's just like you probably don't want to work at McDonald's or something. Like, so you'd rather stay unemployed for a little bit longer. Like, anyone could get a job right now. It's basically guaranteed as is, but I don't know. I don't know how you would do anything different. Like, there's already job search programs and stuff through the government, and like in my state, we have Ohio Means Jobs. Like, I don't know. Like if it's just like a job search program, it's probably fine, but I I don't really know, like, not always guaranteed to people coming out of prison. That's another issue, like, but that's kind of like an issue in itself, though, right? Is like, that's just our punitive justice system being an issue, right? Like, we permanently ruin your life with prison. Like, we can't, like, you serve your sentence and now you're, like, allowed to go back into society. They have to say they were convicted of a crime on the application. But what I will tell you is someone that works in the trades will take felons. Like, if you haven't been arrested at least once, it's weird to be in my line of work. So, I mean, they have a job too, but, like, I think it's kind of fucked up that it's, like, they're limited on the type of work they could get, and it's much harder. I think that if you've paid your time, justice has been served, it doesn't make sense to completely ruin your life. Like, that's not justice. So, yeah, locking out former prisoners from job opportunity only encourages recidivism. So it's a shitty thing, yeah. Like, I'm a big fan of, like, housing first and some type of, like, job programs for prisoners, but it sucks that we don't do that better. Like, we only, like, while they're being punished, like, for some reason we don't, like, you know, prepare them for after the punishment's done, I guess. So, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like true justice. That's where the job guarantee might come in. Yeah. I'm a big fan of reintroduction of prisoners into a normal life, not punishment necessarily, unless we deal with people who serve a life sentence or death row. Or super violent crimes. It all depends. Yeah, I think, like, the main thing, the justice system has to get justice for people, but, like, it has to be fitting. So, like, yeah, if someone steals something or, like, causes harm to someone that's, like, less major, or, like, engages in, like, disorderly conduct or something, like, yeah, there needs to be a punishment, but we need to be able to enact the punishment in a way that, like, you know, their lives aren't permanently ruined, because that's not fitting for the crime. Like, the only people that deserve to have their lives permanently ruined are probably people that ruined other people's lives permanently. So if what you did isn't sufficient for that, then you shouldn't have your life ruined. It's kind of fucked up that we do that. Like, if you commit anything higher than a misdemeanor, it's just game over. And even misdemeanors, there's some jobs you could be locked out of for a misdemeanor, depending on the class of it. So, I mean, it just seems messed up. So, our justice system needs a lot of work. If wages go too high, you might have to enact a draft, because some people go into the military only for a job. True. Just depends. Yeah, I don't know. The justice system could be improved in a lot of ways. Like, most people enroll in the military are upper middle class, not poor. I found that out from a military guy. Yeah, I don't think that there's truly a lot of desperately poor people that go into the military. I've never actually heard of that, now that I think about it, but because I did not grow up any sort of, like, rich or even close to, like, middle class. Like, we've always been working class or lower, so, like, I've never heard of someone going into the military that wasn't, like, somewhat put together. You're correct, middle class. I was gonna say, like, everyone that I knew, if you were, like, poor, like, you definitely going into the military was not like a main priority. But crazy, huh? I thought only poor folks enrolled. It kind of makes sense, because if you're like desperately impoverished, like the least of your concerns, you're probably pissed off at your country. You probably, the last thing you want to do is go serve in the military. Like there's probably a little bit of like disorder, or like I don't even know what the word would be. I guess it would be social disorder that happens from being poor, that like you wouldn't even be disposed to going into the military. Like you would have to have like a decent life to want to go into the military, because like you would want to like experience some hardship, I guess, to like get discipline, and like I don't know. I haven't looked into why people enroll. I don't know. A lot of it is probably like family based, like my parents serve, so I want to serve, if I had to guess. Oh, let's look that up. Why do people join the military? Join the military. It's only Army recruitment ads. Fuck. Polls from recruits. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to look. Because most of it's like propaganda from the military. If you look it up, it's like, here's why you should join. Join the military recruit polls. That's from the military. Why do people join? Okay, then NCBI did a study. Oh, no, they didn't. God, is there even like any like the national interest? This seems biased. Family. To conduct this study, RAND researchers interviewed 81 soldiers ranked E1 to E4, generally assigned to their first modified table of organization. The findings from this study offer a rich description of experiences. The research found that soldiers joined the Army for family, institutional, and occupational reasons. So job, probably like college and money, and family. The importance of family is a recurring feature. Soldiers cite call to serve. Perception of honor. Most soldiers in the research sample acknowledge the unique benefits. Soldiers are frustrated by the bureaucratic characteristics of work in the Army. Most soldiers in the research sample said that their leadership and peers were an important source of support. So, PDF. Introduction, working, let me just Control F. Oh, fuck. I don't know, it seems like they're saying family a lot. Let me see here. Conclusions. This study offers unique insights. In general, we found that AVP aligns with the experiences of soldiers in our sample. However, we did identify several opportunities. Occupational values. Travel and adventure. Soldiers report that peer bonds play an important role. Families have a critical role in the recruitment of soldiers. So it seems like the biggest thing they say a lot is just family and family obligation. So job guarantee helps people out of prison as layer protection against crappy jobs that should pay more. But have you thought about this? If there's a job guarantee, you could technically give people enough welfare to live without worrying about people gaming the system. I mean, that's the thing, though. Is it like literally like the job guarantee is just like every corporation has to leave a certain number of open jobs? If that's the case, if you don't want to work them, you're still not going to. Like, I don't know. I got two types of pollings here. RAND, that's the one I saw, in Department of Defense. Education, training, careers most common. Patriotism, adventure, family. The biggest factor is career and pay, education, health benefits, and military family. Patriotism is like a secondary thing. Most polls say pay. I mean, that makes sense because certainly the military makes it seem like they pay more than they actually do. So a lot of people probably just get tricked. Because from my understanding of people in the military, they usually like, it's not a surprising find, yeah. Public release fall 2024 propensity. Everyone had really low likelihood of serving. So like 50-50 chance they'll continue serving. Reasons not to join. Pay money to pay for future education, health and medical benefits, travel, gain experience, work skills, pension and retirement benefits, to help others, to better my life, experience adventure, to develop discipline. Possibility of death, obviously, PTSD, leaving family and friends. Yeah, it seems like people want the pay and benefits, but they don't realize they're not actually that good. They get tricked. It's the official government data. For me, it's just interesting. It's all about pay. Is not surprising. Yeah, career. Yeah. I don't know. That is weird, though. If it was all about pay, it's interesting that it's not like more poor individuals that go into the military. And career. But maybe that's the thing. Maybe it's because like middle class families tend to like push career instead of like business and entrepreneurship and just pure survival. Like a poorer family is just going to push go get a job in general, survive. Like, I don't know. How would you guarantee welfare to people that are unemployed without having them stay at home and do nothing? A job guarantee could provide welfare to people who, in exchange for working this job, would receive a living wage. I mean, you could already have welfare, right? You just have limited welfare. You have to show that you go to work. Like unemployment insurance is fine. You could also have like a state required like personal unemployment insurance that you have to pay into. So everyone has like their own paid into emergency fund. So you have to work to have an emergency fund, because most people struggle at making their own emergency fund. So maybe the government should step in and like force you to make one. And you can only get it if you're not currently employed. And once you're out, you're out. That's another way you could do it. You could do it some way like that. I had a friend in the military and went to get job training. He was more like an office worker in the military, but yeah, still. Yeah, I mean, that's why a lot of the people went that I know. They went to like get training towards some future career. Like there's a lot of people that go in for cybersecurity now. You could go in to be like an airplane mechanic, welder. Like those are all like decent jobs, and like you come out of the military and now you're basically like you're able to like go get a job, because that's like a hard thing. Getting into the trades and like different jobs is the hard part. So the military could give you the training you need to like have a proper resume. So Bible, go back on the bed. As civilians, that's a plus, yeah. Because I will tell you, as someone that's in the trades, like getting into the trades is like the hardest part. Like once you're there and you find someone that's willing to put up with like a new apprentice, it's things kind of carry on from there. But like, yeah, the military is like a guaranteed way to get it. But that's the thing, though. You have to be able to qualify for those positions with your ASVAB score. So maybe that's why a lot of poor people don't go, because the jobs they want, they can't get. I don't know. Because they didn't score high enough? I don't know. But if you can't find a job that pays a living wage, you have to provide the additional income through some kind of welfare. Then people and companies game the system at lower wages or part-time work. A job guarantee boosts wages if the job is at the living wage. So is this job guarantee just like the government pays you instead of the company? Right. Oh, I don't like that at all. No, I don't think the government should pay you ever. That's just asking for issues. But no, I think ultimately that's your own responsibility to negotiate a living wage. And like, yeah, we could give some welfare to assist in that. But like, if someone doesn't work, they don't work. How else could poor people make a living wage? If you start working, like right away, even if you don't go to college, you will make a living wage by like age 21 or 22. Even if you go work at McDonald's, if you become a manager, you're going to be making like the 25 an hour these days that you need to live. Like, now you're not going to like have a great life on that, but like you're going to live. So like, I guess, I don't know. Like, you can get a living wage right now if you want. Like, I don't. It's pretty much only like introductory or temporary positions that don't pay living wages. Fourth paragraph. That's her verbatim position, because nitro gold seems to be overcomplicated. Let me see. Fourth paragraph. Endorses a federal jobs guarantee program with benefits. Because anyone who is willing and able to work shouldn't struggle to find employment. A federal jobs guarantee would create a baseline standard for employment that includes a $15 minimum wage, full health care, and child and sick leave for all. So it's basically like the government would cover the difference, or like step in to pay minimum wage and stuff. So she basically wants like minimum wage and like required health care. More robust basic jobs program. Yeah. I mean, I'm not against any of that. Like, raising the minimum wage seems fine to me. Because right now, a livable wage in the United States is probably, if we're talking average and not like some out in the middle of nowhere place, like your average place, it's going to be like 25 an hour. 15 an hour is not enough, but it's not enough in a lot of places. Raising the minimum wage creates unemployment. Yeah, that's the general idea of raising minimum wage, although I've seen plenty of studies that suggest it's not as bad as originally thought, but yeah. It does raise unemployment some. Which actually is not a bad thing right now because unemployment's actually fairly low. Like, I don't know. It's kind of, the unemployment thing's a difficult question, but that would be a downside of the work program, though, is that you would create less jobs overall. Unemployment right now is around 4%. Yeah, like, that's fairly low unemployment. Like, it's probably right around natural unemployment right now, if I had to guess. So, I don't know, like, if we would be too concerned with causing a little bit of unemployment increase for like long-term gain. So, but in the context of welfare, raising minimum wage will not help them if they cannot work to do the unemployment from minimum wage increases. Well, wouldn't this be a problem with the job guarantee though? If you just raise federal minimum wage or have a minimum wage job, federally, it's going to cause increased unemployment. So wouldn't the jobs program just do the exact same thing? Like, what's different about it? If the government steps in and forces companies to have employment opportunities, like, that's going to make them fire other people. So you're going to have like a vicious cycle, the same thing you would have if you just raise minimum wage. You might as well just raise minimum wage. I don't see what like the difference is. And those unemployed people will find work at the job guarantee. But yeah, this is going to create a vicious cycle though. This seems like very bad. Like it would like ruin our economy. Because you're going to force people to be unemployed. They're going to go to the federal jobs guarantee, which means that the government is now going to force companies to make more jobs, which means that they're going to fire more people. Those people are going to go to the guarantee, which is going to cause them to fire more people. Everyone's just going to get fired and become a government employee, which I would not be in favor of. Like, at that point, you're getting to, like, a communist, like, everyone should be government employed. Not make more jobs. The government will make more jobs for them, not find them employment. No vicious cycle. That's different. That's just making more government jobs, which is different than like... I guess that's what I don't understand about the guarantee. It's like... Is it just the government, like, I guess, making more federal positions available? Because I don't even know what the hell we would do to make more federal positions. I don't even know what that means. Like, are we going to have more postal workers? Do we even need more postal workers? Like, what? And if the government's competing with private companies, it's going to drive down wages. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I think that's, I guess I just don't understand how that would work. She means worker power. Revise the definitions of employee, supervisor, employer. I don't know. Like, I don't see how that fixes anything. I'm no expert, but Bureau of Labor Statistics is split on the validity whether it raises unemployment realistically by meaningful margins. The consensus is by how much. There's no definitive answer to that. Yeah, that's how I understand. I've read a lot of the research on it. It's just like a known fact it raises unemployment, but there's been a lot of recent data that suggests it's not that bad, or it may not be that big of an issue. Targets public works, environmental sustainability, and care infrastructure. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's fine, but like, I don't know if everyone can do those jobs. Like, what does that even mean? Like, I don't know. Like, does that mean like everyone's guaranteed to be like a solar panel installer? Do we even need more solar panel installers? Is everyone going to become a nurse, like a government nursing structure? Is everyone fit to be a nurse? Like, I don't know. This is the issue. If you do, like, the federal government gets involved in employment and you don't just let people sort themselves out, you run into this issue. It's a resource problem. Like, what does that even mean? How the hell are we going to fund any of that? Like, what? I guess it's just too vague. Like, yes, I agree. I think the government should be involved as a contractor. I think they should build more affordable houses. Like, I would be cool with that. But ultimately, they're just going to contract it to private people. Like, are we going to literally have federally employed plumbers and electricians and carpenters? Like, I don't know how that's going to work. Like, I agree there should be a job that just digs holes for new trees. Everyone could dig a hole. Just some older people will have to dig slower. It's a weird discussion when spoken in generalities. What involvement of the government in the workers' protections should be discussed case by case. Yeah, that's what's weird. Like, I don't know. I think the jobs guarantee is just like too vague. Like, should the government be involved in more things? Probably. We should probably have a public health care system. We're going to have an issue of too many elderly people soon. Like, it's already happening. Because people are living to be older, which means that we're naturally more unhealthy. So there's more strain on the healthcare system. But, like, do we have the people available to work these? Like, and not everyone could just become a nurse. Like, that takes schooling. Maybe we could guarantee you that job, but like, you would have to pass the relevant classes and stuff to get it. If the person's not capable of it, we're still back to square one again. I think the government should subsidize private companies to encourage to employ people who wouldn't be normally employable, like with disabilities. That's a good thing. As an example, it highly depends on what program we want to introduce. Like, yeah, I'm all for tax breaks and stuff for, like, which I think there already is. You could get a tax break in many states for hiring, like, a felon, for instance. I know in my line of work, we use that tax credit all the time. But, yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess the government, like, the whole point of the Federal Reserve and the government, like, financial involvement is to keep unemployment under control. So I don't think anyone disagrees the government should be in the business of, like, keeping employment at stable levels. It's just like, you have to take it industry by industry, case by case. Like, I don't know. This seems like the policy of federal employment is more like a collection of like 80 other policies, and I would have to look at each one individually. We already do that. It's just to say government shouldn't be involved in the private sector isn't a good thing to say. It's too absolute. Yeah. Well, there's some markets that just don't function because the goods and services, like the demand and supply, are not flexible. Like, they're infinite or too low. So, like, healthcare is an example. Because the demand is inelastic, meaning there's just infinite demand for healthcare, like you will do anything not to die, it's not good working in the market. Like the government just has to be involved, or some mediator has to be there, or like healthcare just doesn't function. Because if either demand or supply can't adjust, then it just doesn't work. The market can't sort it out. It's kind of the same thing with like housing too, because housing, like, you're only ever going to buy like a house once in your life. You're not, maybe twice. So you just are never going to have enough knowledge to properly shop for a home, so you have to have government involvement. Like, yeah, there's just some things that don't work in a market. People make this joke that Breaking Bad only makes sense in the U.S. as a plot because of the situation. True. If that was any other country with free healthcare, it wouldn't have Breaking Bad wouldn't have happened. It's like the ultimate. Can you imagine like Canadian Breaking Bad? It wouldn't even make sense. Dude got cancer, couldn't pay though he was insured, so he turned to making heroin. Yeah, or meth. It was meth in the show. No, was it meth? Yeah, it was meth. They didn't have heroin to the same degree they do now these days. It was meth back then. That was their big thing, Breaking Bad. Lol, yeah. Yeah, he was a meth cook because he was a chemist, so he knew how to make meth. Heroin's like a natural growth. You need opium. So, yep, he was a chemist, so he could synthesize meth. That was the whole, like, plot. I just recently rewatched Breaking Bad. It's a good show. It's one of the few shows that don't just give you, like, a happy ending for the characters. The ending's literally, like, you just get what you deserve. So, it's kind of a cool show for that, but yeah, I tried watching it but never got back to it to finish it. Might someday. It's worth watching. It's definitely one of the better shows to ever come out, but it's not. I wouldn't let people trick you into like, oh, it's the perfect show or like a masterpiece. It's just like a very good show. Like, it's going to ultimately, it's worth the watch no matter what. Like, I think it's refreshing because I like stories that are just like, that aren't like fairy tale, like everyone gets what they want. It's just sometimes it's good to see a story that's like, yep, this dude just got what he deserved, or life fucking sucks. Get over it. It's kind of, I don't know, there's something refreshing like it. I think China has their act together. What does that even mean? The show I recommend is SAS Rogue Heroes, about the creation of the Secret Air Force, or Secret Air Service, the first commando units in history. Don't they have a job guarantee? Probably. But I don't know if that's the best example, because you might also get kidnapped in your Chinese Waymo vehicle and shipped off to the rice field. So I don't know about that one. I wouldn't say they have their stuff together, but pretty good shit. Yeah, I'll have to look into it. But yeah, Breaking Bad's a good series. I wouldn't say it's like the absolute best of all time per se, but it's like pretty damn good. Chernobyl's a really good one to watch too. SAS Rogue Heroes, Prime Video. I'll have to check it out. Oh, I've seen clips of this. I think I will watch it at some point. Chernobyl is great, not because of historical accuracy, because it's not super accurate, but the authenticity of the corruption of the system they had led to the disaster is spot on. Yeah, Yeah, and it's just like everybody's covering their own ass. Yeah, it's definitely like just like a good series to watch. Just like gritty and I don't know. I like stories like that where it's like it doesn't even have to be historically based, but like anything that's just like this shit sucks is the theme basically. It's pretty authentic in how the bureaucracy worked back then, not in the events themselves. Do you believe in climate change? Yeah, I believe in climate change. I think it's just like a fact. Like I'm big into like meteorology. It's kind of a hobby for me. Like I really like storm chasing and like weather. So for me, when someone talks about climate change not existing, I'm just like, what the hell are you even talking about? So yeah, climate change is real. Ultimately, the effects of climate change are debatable, but obviously, climate change, greenhouse effect, everything like that is true. Do you believe when Europe is getting scorched and the U.S. is getting wildfires every Tuesday? But sure. Do you think we need to make green jobs to combat climate change? I don't know about green jobs. I think you need to discourage driving because that's going to be a huge usage of fossil fuels. You also need to transition to nuclear energy. So, and then eventually like other renewable means because nuclear is not renewable forever. It's just like very long time lasting, I guess. Nuclear, solar is improved. Yeah, it's much cheaper. Yeah, like just put solar panels on all new structures, feed that power back into the grid, switch to nuclear, and discourage people from driving. Like make cities and infrastructure that are actually walkable. Coal needs to be gone. Yeah, coal is already basically getting phased out, but there's people that stupidly want to like bring it back in. It's just inefficient. Like even using natural gas and petroleum products is just less harmful and more efficient than coal. Coal is just like one of the most inefficient sources. It makes no sense. You'd be better off powering everything with diesel than with coal. Like it just makes no sense. But yeah, I believe in climate change. I do HVAC, so I know quite a bit about hydrofluorocarbons and hydrocarbons, right? Because in HVAC, I actually have to have a license to work on hydrocarbons and hydrofluorocarbons because those are very bad for the atmosphere. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like a fact. We need to get away from like, we need to find a better solution than hydrocarbons and hydrofluorocarbons for heating and cooling. Like we need to make them as less harmful as possible. I remember Clean Coal by the Dems. Yeah. I get why people's whole family lineages relied on coal mining. Small towns had businesses thanks to that. So it's hard to let go of that. I'm a climate change doomer. We're fucked. All that's going to be done is just damage reduction. I think we're pretty close to the point of no return. It's hard to say if we're at it yet or not. I know I've seen a couple meteorologists and climate scientists say that we're at the point of no return, but it's really hard to say. But we're already at it, I think. I'm like, fuck it, whatever now. We might be. It's hard to say. I think statistically we're probably more likely to be fucked than we are not, but I don't know. I think you could do carbon air scrubbing at some point, but I don't know. There's a bunch of different things you could do, but ultimately, you need to get away from hydrofluorocarbons, which we don't really have a way of doing yet. Other than like pure electric heating, but pure electric heating still uses hydrofluorocarbons, and so does cooling. So I don't know how you get away from using those, or just regular fluorocarbons, which are better, but like you need to use some sort of carbon-based thing to cool and heat. They're just good conductors, so like how the hell are you going to get away from using them? It's not about the tech, it's about the political will to do it. That's the fucked part. Yeah, unfortunately, some bad faith actors have kind of killed the will for fixing climate change or like doing anything about it. So I don't know. It's kind of tough, but it is what it is. Like ultimately, we could continue working towards like getting rid of hydrocarbons and hydrofluorocarbons, but because all we're doing is having conferences on climate change to have a conference on a conference about a conference we had prior, so we could start another conference. So fuck it. Yeah, they only really work if people actually adhere to them. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like it is what it is. I think denial of climate change is just straight up science denialism, but like what we do about it's a whole nother question, if we even can fix it. But yeah, obviously it's just factually the case. Like all of climate is like heat based and moisture based. So today climate denial has shifted. Has it? To not denying climate changes, but the impact of the climate change. Impact on the human race isn't big enough, so now it's alarmist rhetoric. Oh. I mean, that's a more defensible position at least, but like I think that's still fairly indefensible. Like any of the simulations we have and is just going to show like pretty devastating effects, like probably at least a few extra million deaths a year at the height of its effects. That's the new meta. Like your Ben Shapiro will say that climate is changing, but it's not as big as people say it is. That's the new meta. It's fossil industry talk. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's not much to say about that other than like, do we really want to test it and find out? Like, if you accept the greenhouse effect, do you really want to push the limits of it? I don't know. I feel like that's a lot of gambling, but we're already testing it? Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I've read a few studies that there's like already we're having like hundreds of thousands of additional deaths each year due to climate change. Like because humidity levels go up if the earth gets hotter, it makes more breeding grounds for mosquitoes, which causes the spread of like malaria and HIV and causes a bunch of death in underdeveloped countries. And in developed countries, you have people dying of wet bulb syndrome. Like it's literally too humid to evaporate your sweat. So you literally just fall over dead because your sweat can't evaporate. It's too moist because it's too hot. So yeah, and hot seasons are longer and more intense. Yeah, I mean, anyway, good talk. I need to go. Yeah, it was good talking to you. Appreciate you coming out. I think I'm actually going to wrap up the stream. I try to stream for about 3 hours. It's a little bit earlier today, but I got to do more stuff. So I appreciate everyone that came out. If you're not following, follow whatever platform you're watching on. Subscribe. Do whatever's on that platform. Join the Discord, all that stuff. Appreciate everyone that came out. And yeah.